Today, we are diving into what might be the two most powerful words in any language, I am. We're going to break down a really profound spiritual lecture that says these two little words, well, they're the key to unlocking everything you're meant to be.
So let's just start with a feeling I bet you know. That sense that you're kind of living on autopilot, just going through the motions day in, day out. You know, where you feel less like a person and more like a robot, programmed by your job, your routine, and what everyone else thinks you should be doing. That feeling right there, that's where our whole journey begins.
You know, some esoteric traditions actually have a pretty intense name for this state. They call it morte de alma, which means the death of the soul. It's that feeling of being totally cut off from who you really are, from your true divine self. But, and this is the important part, there is a key to waking that soul back up. And that's what we're here to find.
Okay, so where do we even begin to look for this key to awakening? Well, the answer comes from some really fascinating and maybe even surprising history. This brings us right into our first section, the awakening.
So our story kicks off way back in the 19th century with something called the Theosophical Society. It was started by these pioneers like Helena Blavatsky, who had this totally radical idea for the time. They asked, what if spiritual wisdom and modern science, what if they aren't enemies? What if they're actually two sides of the same coin, both pointing to a much, much deeper truth about how the universe works?
And this is where things start to get really wild. Theosophy brought this idea of the white brotherhood into the conversation. Now hold on, this isn't some secret club. It's described as a community of what they call ascended masters, basically beings who've already graduated from the school of life here on Earth, and now they exist on a whole other spiritual level.
But wait, there's more. These teachings talk about an entire cosmic hierarchy. See, the Ascended Masters, they're like volunteers. They're serving an even higher authority called the Planetary Command, a group that's said to include advanced extraterrestrial intelligences. And where do we fit in? Well, we're right here, on our own amazing, messy, beautiful journey of consciousness.
Okay, I know, a cosmic hierarchy with ascended masters and extraterrestrials, that's a lot to process. But what if I told you that this spiritual framework has some pretty mind-blowing parallels with modern science? And that brings us to our next section, the science behind I am. The lecture we're exploring makes this incredible link to ideas in quantum physics, and it all centers on this concept of the field. Just think of it as the one, single, fundamental energy that everything in the entire universe is made of. You can call it cosmic intelligence, you can call it the source, you can call it God, it doesn't matter. It's the one thing that is everything. And this right here is the absolute core of the whole teaching. Your individual consciousness, the thing that makes you, you, it's not separate from the field. It is the field. It's just the field deciding to experience life as you. You've heard that saying, right? You're not just a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a single drop. That's literally it.
And this isn't some new age idea, not at all. The lecture points out that great masters, like Jesus, were saying this thousands of years ago with lines like, "You are gods." So the big takeaway here is really profound. This isn't about some long, hard struggle to become divine. The real journey is just about waking up to the divinity that you already have, right here, right now.
I mean, that's a huge, incredibly powerful idea. But let's be real. What good is a theory if you can't actually use it? How do we take this amazing knowledge and apply it in our real, everyday lives? Well, that brings us to our next part, the practice.
The main practice is actually a super simple form of mantra yoga. All you have to do is repeat the phrase, I am. The idea is that these words, they create a specific, powerful vibration. And this isn't just in your head. It's said to literally change your personal energy field, your aura. And we all know the law of attraction, right? You change your vibration and you start attracting all the positive energies that are on that same frequency. So what this all does is create this fundamental shift in how you see everything. On one side, you've got the thought of servitude, begging some external god for help, feeling like you're small and separate and powerless. And on the other side, you've got the thought of power, knowing you are one with the source and manifesting your own divinity from within. It's a total game changer, from asking to affirming. To really show what this shift from asking to affirming looks like, the lecture shared this really simple but incredibly powerful story. Let me tell you about a beggar named Ze.
So Ze was a beggar, right? And every single day, he had this little ritual.
He'd walk into the church, he'd stand in front of the image of Jesus, and he would simply announce himself. He'd say, "Hey Jesus, Zez here." That's it. No begging, no long prayers. Just a simple, direct, daily act of connection. So, years go by, and Z ends up on his deathbed in a hospital ward, surrounded by other very sick patients. And in that moment, as he's lying there, he feels this powerful, undeniable presence enter the room. And the story goes that Jesus appeared. But here's the amazing part. He didn't just heal Z. He healed every single person in that ward. It's this beautiful example of a miracle that wasn't born from complicated prayers or begging, but from Z's simple, powerful, and total belief in his connection to the divine.
And that story, Zay's story, it really brings us to our final and, honestly, our most important section, because it makes every single one of us ask a really big question about who we are. Which I are we choosing to be?
It all boils down to these two different versions of I. First, you've got the small I. That's your ego. That's your job title, your social status, your relationship status, all the temporary labels we all carry around. But then there's the capital I. And that's your soul, your true self, the part of you that is timeless, that is limitless, and that is connected to absolutely everything.
You know, this recognition is perfectly captured in the greeting, Namaste. It's so much more than just hello. It's this profound statement that means, the God within me greets the God within you. It's a way of looking at another person and acknowledging that capital I in them and in yourself.
And so, after all that, we're just left with one final question. It's not about what you need to go out and do or what you need to become. The only question that really matters is the one you get to answer every single morning when you wake up. Which I will you choose to be today?